Hey, most coffee companies tell you their beans are premium. Mine actually are. This is Red Iron Coffee. It's high quality, single origin Colombian beans, roasted by guys who have pulled enough overnight shifts to know what coffee's supposed to do. So, if you are like me and you love your caffeine, go on down to Red Iron Coffee, pick yourself up some today. That's redironcoffee.com. Like I said, that's redironcoffee.com.
Sure. So, Bob Sullivan. I was born here in Tulsa, actually. I grew up at Grand Lake, a little town called Cleora, with a graduating class in eighth grade of about 13 people. And we were the big class. So, small town Oklahoma. Went to Veneta for high school, and from there went to Oklahoma State University and graduated with a degree in finance and accounting. Ever since then, I've been in the insurance industry. Started off my career as an underwriter for Hanover Insurance. Spent about 2.5 years inside on the company side, working in Oklahoma and Arkansas and some of the surrounding states, pricing risk, analyzing risk, doing what underwriters do for an insurance company. After about 2 years, I realized that this really wasn't where I wanted to spend my career, spend my life. And made the move in 2010 to the agency side. Joined Rich and Cartmill here in Tulsa, and was there for about 12 years. And my whole career since 2010 has been working with business owners, homeowners, farmers, and ranchers around Oklahoma and all the other neighboring states as well. Just trying to help people protect what they work so hard to acquire, protect your assets, protect from lawsuits and liability, and manage the risk of everyday life, which here in Oklahoma, there's a lot of risk.
Yeah, absolutely. So what got you into the insurance route? Like, what kind of paved your way into getting into that?
Sure. So I was dead set on being a banker and being in finance when I was in college at OSU. Worked in banks, worked in my local community bank in Veneta. Then in college, worked at the local bank there in Stillwater, and thought that I was going to graduate and go do high-level finance, either on Wall Street or for some big Fortune 500 company. That was around 2006, 2007 when I graduated, and that time the U.S. economy was not doing so hot. And
No, it wasn't.
Banking was not doing so hot. And
Bankers were kind of everybody's least favorite person at the time.
100%.
Yeah.
So just oddly enough, the higher OSU grads job site had a posting for a commercial underwriter. That looked kind of interesting, and interviewed for it, and was obviously picked for the job, and kind of fell in love with the concept of insurance and helping people protect what they've worked so hard for, as I said before, but using that finance background and that accounting background to help people quantify and understand what their risks really are, and in dollars and cents, not just some nebulous idea of there's risk out there.
Yeah.
So a lot of people in insurance say they fell into insurance or they stumbled into insurance, and I'm not much different in that sense. But, once you get into an industry like that and you just kind of fall in love with it, and I've spent my career learning as much as I possibly can about it. So your business card in insurance has letters following your name, and I've got seemingly alphabet soup following mine at this point. Just keeping that mindset of continuous learning and continuous education. We have to do continuing it anyway as agents and brokers, but taking that next step and sitting for the test and really applying yourself to it is just always been important. I had a lot of mentors in my career that really instilled that value of learn something new every day.
Yeah.
And take that knowledge and use it to the benefit of your clients and your policyholders.
Yeah. Well, it just to me personally, it just seems like the insurance is just such a vast, like there's just so much to know and learn. Was that pretty intimidating for you when first getting into it, or was there a pretty steep learning curve is basically what I'm getting at?
Oh, absolutely. Picture being a 21-year-old fresh out of college graduate.
Absolutely.
And everybody at 21 years old when they graduate college or 22, whatever you graduate you think you know everything. Then you get into the real world and you realize just how little you truly know.
Right.
And it was a steep learning curve. I mean, thinking back to my early days as an underwriter at Hanover, the list of mistakes I made in those early years is a mile long. And, thinking that you know something about a particular type of coverage that has some nuance to it or some difficulty to it, it was a sharp curve. But I think it benefited me the most when I got on the agency side. It taught me how little I truly knew about the industry that I've dedicated my career to at this point. And I think that really lit the fire under me to keep doing the education, keep taking the next step.
Yeah. No, after, like my family we have a cattle ranch down in southern Oklahoma, and just being there when we're going over insurance stuff, especially with the agents to me, it's just mind-boggling. Like I'm sitting there like, oh, I don't understand half of this. So having a good, agent sit there and basically spoon feed you, what's in this policy, how this protects you, it's, super beneficial for, folks like me and my family.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, I mean, you can chew up an afternoon just talking about the basic risks that an average business owner faces every day that they're operating. And, I think that's probably one of the biggest misconceptions that I've seen in my career is that, this one insurance policy will solve all of my problems. And the answer to that is no. One policy covers really one thing. Even the broadest, general liability policy has holes in it. And some of those are things that you want to buy insurance for. But I think in the concept of risk management, which has been more my focus throughout my career, is insurance isn't the answer to every problem. It isn't the answer to every risk that you face. You can make choices in how you structure your business or your personal life to manage those risks of everyday life. And honestly, if you do that properly, insurance is like the last thing that you do in that risk management process. It's for the things that you can't control, that you can't transfer, that you can't finance in terms of monetary risk. So I think it's been very helpful to me throughout my career, and hopefully my clients will feel the same way. I'm not out there just pitching a policy for everything under the sun. It's having a deeper conversation about, okay, you've got this risk of your employees getting injured on the job. And for that, 99 times out of 100, workers' comp's the answer. But, in Oklahoma, we have some flexibility. And for a period of time, we had the ability to even opt out of the workers' comp system. And understanding products or understanding concepts like that were instrumental in a few cases saving businesses from closing their doors. So having a pulse on what you can do and what you can't do is vital, and having a good agent makes the difference in navigating those fairly treacherous waters.
Right.
Yeah.
And so coming up in the future with the innovation of AI and how advanced it's getting, what do you see as far as AI in the insurance world? How do you see that affecting it, whether the positives or negatives in it?
Sure.
What are some things will you be implementing AI yourself in your line of work, or is that something that you're going to kind of stay away from? Sure. Or, can you kind of explain what that looks like?
Yeah, I mean, AI is a tremendous tool. It takes tasks that require tons of time, just analyzing or compiling large data sets. Let's say you've got a big business that owns a few hundred vehicles. Compiling that list of vehicles and spot checking that is an arduous and time-consuming event. And account managers and customer service people in agencies spend hours pouring through these lengthy spreadsheets. AI is a major time saver on items like that, things that are just pure labor, very task-focused things. So I think we're seeing a lot of adaptation and a lot of adoption of AI for some of those type of processes. What I don't see AI as a major case for yet is the claims handling. I think insurance claims don't come at convenient times, and they don't come under convenient circumstances. You're either talking about a major health issue, like your wrist, for example,
Right.
or a tornado or a fire. I mean, those instances, those events are traumatic for many people. And there's a lot of uncertainty there. And I think turning the people of Oklahoma over to an AI claims adjuster, so to speak, I think we're missing the forest for the trees there. I think we need to have that personal touch. You need to know, as a person with a claim or a person who's suffered a trauma of any nature, to know that you've got somebody on your side, that you have a person
Right.
with empathy, with emotions, that can understand what you're going through on some level. And having that always in front of you is key to me.
Yeah. Now, do you think there's a push to possibly have AI in those positions making claims, or do you think that's so far in the future?
No, I think that's absolutely it's being tested and being worked on. I think I would assume by many insurance companies. It's something that I'm very cautious about, and think that it's going to be probably a key role of the insurance commissioner in the state of Oklahoma to have.
That was going to lead up to my next question. You, as if Mr. Sullivan is commissioner in Oklahoma, what does that look like as far as implementing AI, and what kind of process that would look like?
Sure. I mean, I think you always have to have the human touch. I think there always has to be a case for human interaction with claims. I just put it as bluntly as that. Particularly in areas where you're dealing with, medical procedures and things of that nature, I think you have to have the personal touch and the professional touch as well.
Yeah.
With, professional claims adjusters, and in the case of medical procedures, professionals in the medical field and doctors. I think if we take this cold and distant, arm's length approach to things that affect a human body and a person and their personal lives and freedoms, we can't outsource those sort of things.
No, and I completely agree with that. Do you think there'll be like any kind of pushback from any outside entities that are wanting to really, really start pushing it? Like who would you see that be coming from? And what would be some things you could do to basically hold that at bay?
I don't know how contentious a topic it's going to be. Obviously, if there are people out there or companies out there that are way ahead in terms of adoption of AI for things like that, I'm sure they're going to be a little disenchanted if we step in as regulators in the state and push back. Obviously, they've made investments in those technologies, and they want to see return on those investments and not see them go to waste. But ultimately, if we're doing things that put the consumer at risk or put the consumer in a situation where they're not being treated fairly or justly, it's as simple as that. It's right and wrong. It's balls and strikes. If we find out that some companies have made AI adoptions and customer satisfaction is fine and high and people are being taken care of, obviously we're open to taking a look and hearing them out. But, the insurance commissioner's role is one of a watchdog for the consumer. We have an insurance department in the state of Oklahoma because insurance companies write insurance policies, and they write them in language that is typically not translatable commonly. Right. So you have to have insurance agents to help through that process, and you have to have an insurance commissioner and an insurance department to be that sounding board and be that disinterested third party, so to speak, to help navigate conflict, because there's always going to be conflict anytime there's a contract. That's why attorneys exist, and that's why insurance agents exist, and why insurance departments exist.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what got you to want to throw your hat in the race? Just what are some things that led up to this?
Sure. So we've had 13 insurance commissioners in state history, and by and large, the majority of them have come from the life insurance side of the industry or the health insurance side of the industry, and not a tremendous amount of depth from the property and casualty side, where I spend 99% of my time. And in the year 2026, we have major issues statewide with property and casualty rates, homeowners insurance, commercial property insurance, auto insurance. Those are all P&C issues, and so I always felt that it was the right time to have someone with good property and casualty expertise there, which, again, that's been my life. That's been my career.
Yeah.
Then, middle part of 2025, I got to looking at who had declared for the race and saw that we had gentlemen from Shelter Insurance and a gentleman from Farmers Insurance, and those are, one company, captive model companies. Your farmer's agent can give you farmer's insurance, and sometimes they can go outside of that, and Shelter's the same way. So being an independent agent like myself, I work with a few hundred insurance companies each and every day, day in and day out. And I think that breadth of exposure to insurance companies and how they behave and how they operate, having a better understanding of the overall ecosystem is really vital to ensuring that we have a competitive and affordable marketplace in Oklahoma. And just beyond that, I felt a calling, felt God telling me that it was time to do this. A lot of events fell into place in a very short period of time, and at a certain point, if you're a believer, you have to listen to the God that created you, and if He's prompting you to do something, you better listen. Absolutely. And I felt like this was absolutely that prompting, and I'm here listening to it and following the path that He laid out for me. Yeah. I mean, to get too religious.
No, I love it. No, I appreciate that.
But it really was something that I felt very strongly about. And, this industry has been absolutely fantastic to me on a personal level. It's been a very fulfilling industry to work in. And I want to see it continue and be sustainable and be successful for agents, for consumers, for the companies that write in the state. I want to see everybody come out of this with a win-win-win solution, not a win-lose solution.
Mm-hmm. So as far as independent, like yourself, as like insurance companies, is there quite a few in Oklahoma, or are you seeing more so of like you got State Farm, or so they're only pushing a State Farm product, or this is Progressive, it's only Progressive products, or is there a lot more of the independents that are able to source from different companies in Oklahoma that, we just might not be privy to?
There is a vast network of independent agents throughout the state of Oklahoma. The Independent Agents Association of Oklahoma is a great resource for finding a local independent agent near you. They're everywhere. I mean, underwriting at the beginning of my career, I exclusively worked with independent agents in multiple states. And there are some fantastic professionals all throughout the state of Oklahoma that can help Oklahomans navigate multiple carriers, get quotes and get options. And that's not to overlook the State Farms or the Farmers or the all states of the world. I mean, there's always this constantly evolving system of when companies file new rates, when they change coverage forms, and there are companies that come into the marketplace with fantastic rates and coverage that I'm not shy to admit that I've encouraged some of my personal lines homeowners clients. If what I can do for you with Liberty Mutual isn't to your liking, here's a list of 2 or 3 captive agent companies that I think would be worth a second look. I do a lot of work with I've done a lot of work over the years with members of Tulsa Police and Tulsa Fire. My brother-in-law is a Tulsa police officer here in town, and he's always referring some of his squad mates over to me, and just have that conversation about, okay, what are we looking to cover? What are we looking to do here? And if I'm not the right answer for him, I think it's ethically my job to tell him who is, and to have an understanding of who else is operating in that space with that size of home, that many autos. If you got teenage drivers, whatever the criteria is, being that trusted advisor to them, even if it's not going to benefit me in the least, even if it's going to cost me money. I think that's part of the ethics of being an agent. Yeah. And if you're not operating in that ethical framework, then I would caution anyone to take a good hard look at themselves and ask what they're really in this business for.
Yeah. What are some things that you think would separate you from the other insurers in this race? What are some things that would you believe set you apart?
I get to brag on myself now.
What elevates you? You think?
Sure. So part of being an independent agent means you know how to write just about every type of policy at some level in the state of Oklahoma. I would just about guarantee I'm the only agent or the only candidate in this race who understands what it means to write a surety bond for a large commercial contracting risk, or to write an environmental liability policy for somebody in the oil and gas business, understanding the difference between property in transit and commercial cargo policies and all of the nuance that goes into that. That's not something you're going to get with your run-of-the-mill agent. I think that's something that being an independent agent brings to the table. I've already talked about all the educational stuff and all the alphabet soup and the certifications. That's all well and good. Again, it's just pointing to the knowledge base. But another key differentiator is, we talked about ethics a moment ago. I think it's ethically unsound to accept campaign contributions from insurance companies that it would be my job to regulate as insurance commissioner in the state of Oklahoma. There's a ton of precedent, and I'm not going to throw stones at people in the past who've run campaigns.
Has that happened in the past?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. But it's been a commitment from me and my campaign since day one to not accept campaign contributions from insurance carriers or their executives. Mm-hmm. I like my sleep at night, and I like to protect my objectivity in that sense. And so we made it clear very early on that we were going to be above that question, be beyond reproach, so to speak. And I think that's a key differentiator. I don't closely monitor the campaign contributions for all of my fellow candidates, right. But it's something that I feel very strongly about.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So getting started out that early, you said you were in your early 20s when you really started out. As far as your first really big claim that you might have had to work on, can you kind of tell us about that? Like how intimidating would something like that be as a brand new guy?
Yeah. I still remember my first big workers' comp claim as an underwriter. We had just written this account over in Oklahoma City. It was a large produce distributor, and it helps to have some context. This is pre-workers' comp reforms. This is before 2014. And we had this business had an employee that showed up every day, and I think it was a Pontiac, either Sunfire, it was something like that.
Something really cool.
It's something really cool.
Yeah.
And the doors he'd had a couple of side swipes or vehicular incidents. The doors were inoperable. Couldn't get in and out the doors. Was climbing out through the sunroof every day, showing up to work, climbing up on the roof of this vehicle and hopping down to the pavement in the parking lot. And one day he jumped down from the sunroof and twisted his knee, and goes into the building. I believe objectively, and this is 14 years in the rear view now, staged an incident inside the building when he was then on the clock.
Yeah.
After he clocked in, and we paid a very sizable workers' comp claim. I think it was close to $400,000 knee replacement, knee surgery, rehab, soup to nuts. It was not cheap.
Yeah.
That same claim in post-reform years would likely not be a compensable claim. I don't remember all the specifics of it, but the reforms that were passed in 2014 would have limited, and it did limit a great number of fraudulent claims in the workers' comp system.
So for him, to do that, was there an investigation or anything like that would have?
So in those days, your ability to investigate fraudulent workers' comp claims were very limited.
Okay.
So we really weren't able to deny the claim based on anything other than.
So this guy could have technically been hurt in his front yard, hopped in his car, drove to work, hopped out, said, I smashed my foot here at work. Mm-hmm. Wow.
That's the one from the underwriting days that sticks out the most. Certainly had a lot of sizable property claims over the 16 years plus of being being an agent. Some that go well, some that drag on seemingly for eternity.
Yeah.
We've had, property claims, tornado claims that drug out for over a year.
How is working with tornado claims in Oklahoma?
It varies. It really does. It's always heartbreaking. especially when you're talking about total loss. Flattened homes,
Right.
flattened commercial businesses. Those are gut wrenching. Those are very traumatic, even as an agent. The tornado that hit Barnsdall 2 years ago, we had a claim resulting from that. And what you look for, what I always look for, is who got hurt and how badly did they get hurt. And in so many cases, it's just seemingly miraculous that in the Barnsdall example, not a single injury, not to staff, not to residents of the building. No one got hurt, and the staff did a great job of protecting lives and saving lives. And so there's always, you always seem to find something that gives you hope.
Yeah.
But and then we certainly had a fair number of crazy liability claims, a lot of lawsuit claims, and various allegations that have happened to clients of mine over the years. And some of them have merit, and the claims paid out, and you're like, okay, this is what we have the insurance for. And then there are some that are factually baseless, and somehow they still get settled for some six-figure amount, and you're just sort of left scratching your head. Mm-hmm. How in the world did we get to this? So it's, I'm never going to say that we have a perfect system for anything. We have an imperfect legal system. We have an imperfect insurance system. The point is to try and get better each and every time, and learn something from every claim. If you're not learning from your past, you're doomed to repeat it. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, I'm sure you remember, but in 2019, when all the floods happened, what was that? Can you kind of walk us through that? What was
Sure. Mercifully, my clients didn't have any major issues from the 2019 floods. Now, I live in eastern Oklahoma, and know a lot of people who did have issues with rising water and flood damage. And flood insurance is its own separate type of policy, mm-hmm. with a variety of different nuances. It's got federal implications. It's federally regulated in a lot of cases. The National Flood Insurance Program writes the majority of it. Very little private flood is written, but that's usually the hardest claim in terms of duration to get people back to normal, mm-hmm. Of any type of loss, because they're usually very widespread. You're talking about tens, if not hundreds, of properties damaged in a widespread flooding incident, and the level of cleanup and remediation and damage that occurs. That you think about tornado damage, it's kind of cut and dry. You understand. Mm-hmm. Flood damage, there's a lot to contemplate there. Yeah. Just from the mold aspect alone, that's a majorly dangerous and long-term effect that people don't really think about a lot.
Yeah. No, I remember I was in Bixby at the time, and it was an absolute nightmare over in that area. Like, there was a few neighborhoods that flooded, and a few ranches down south, like in Leonard, that flooded, and it was an absolute nightmare.
Absolutely. And and then you get into the vehicular incidents where people drive into that running water, rushing water. You all are you all are first responders. You see it more than anybody. The crazy things that happen, that the situations that people knowingly or unknowingly put themselves in. It's frightening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially in talking about the Leonard area, where you've got a lot of livestock down there, and loss of livestock, loss of livelihoods. It's very widespread. It's very catastrophic, and people don't think a lot about it. We don't think a lot about floods, even in eastern Oklahoma, where we have so many bodies of water, mm-hmm. and it's different.
It seems like Oklahoma, the main thought is, whether wildfire or tornadoes,
sure,
bad hailstorms, mm-hmm. anything like that. I'm personally. Did you see the big hailstorm that went through, Collinsville, Verdigris, and all that?
I've got my house is in Inola. We have an open claim.
Okay, yeah. So
we had golf ball size hail in Inola that Friday night, and it's brutal. Just people I go to church with who had all three vehicles mm-hmm. in their household parked outside, and the level of damage to those vehicles is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the wind blew that hail, sideways. There was
Oh,
a lot
yeah.
of lateral falling hail. It's dangerous stuff.
Yeah, it looked like the side of my truck got shot with a bunch of paintballs, because
Yep.
it was coming in sideways. So,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
You normally don't think about window damage with a hail event, but there was a ton of window damage.
absolutely. On this campaign, how's it been? Has it been pretty exciting? A lot of learned. Has there been a lot of lessons learned, or has it been pretty smooth?
Oh, there's a major
so far?
learning curve. This
Okay.
is my first campaign of any type.
Yeah.
And jumping in statewide is an even steeper learning curve. I would say probably the most difficult thing to navigate. I'm blessed. I've got a great team, great people who understand a lot of the ins and outs of what it means to run for office, working with me. But probably the most difficult thing personally is just managing my time and where I need to be and when, and how to best, maximize impact of where I'm going to be any given time. There's hundreds of events going on throughout the state every month for campaigns and candidates and political offices, and a lot of invitations to come speak at events, and trying to hit as many of those as humanly possible.
Yeah.
But until I figure out cloning or teleportation, you can't hit them all.
Right.
I'm not even sure you could if I figured that out.
Yeah.
But that's probably the most difficult part is, running statewide. You want to reach everybody in the entire state of Oklahoma, and doing that with a truck and burning a lot of diesel, you're still not going to hit it all.
Right.
So it's been a struggle from that perspective, but it's been fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I never thought I'd be running for office ever in my life. I ran away from politics and shied away from getting involved like this forever. And as I said before, sometimes God just tells you it's time to get off the sidelines and get in the fight. And I'm in this fight because I care about the people in this state. I've never lived anywhere else. Fourth generation Oklahoman, raising the fifth. And I want my kids to be able to grow up here and live here and be able to afford to live here and be able to afford to own a home. I want my mother to be able to stay in the home that I grew up in and be able to afford to live there. And it's a 6-month conversation or annual conversation with her. This is what the insurance renewal looks like. Can this still fit in the budget? And if not, what can we do to, curb some of that expense and shift how she manages her risk and how she insures her home? And it's getting to the point where we're not all the way out of options, out of levers to pull, but we're out of the good ones.
Yeah, that's a question I have for a lot of different people I've been talking to recently with, the retirees who have fixed incomes, being able to afford the rising prices and the inflation that's going on right now across the country. Just seems like it's a burden that they're having to bear with not a whole lot of help, really. So
Right. And, and that inflation affects the cost of insurance. I mean, nails and lumber don't get cheaper either.
No doubt.
Labor for the people to put your roof back on hasn't gotten cheaper. Certainly in the post-COVID world, things are more expensive. And while some costs, building material costs have ebbed a little bit back down once or twice since 2020, but major global events happen, they pop right back up. When your cost of labor goes up, it doesn't go back down.
Yeah.
That toothpaste is out of the tube. So it's a struggle. I think as insurance commissioner, we're going to bring some ideas to the table that I think will put some more control and some more agency back into the hands of Oklahomans, so that they're not just writing a check to an insurance company each and every year, maybe having some type of a shared risk or some type of a savings vehicle for that increased deductible risk.
Right.
That's something that I want to see come to fruition. We have the framework for those kind of things already in existence. Health savings accounts on the health side, college 529 plans for kids' college funds. I think there's a major case to be made for having some type of a savings vehicle for Oklahomans to self-insure portions of their disaster risk, whether that's your deductible risk or your roof risk or what have you.
Yeah.
And I think if we can put a plan like that into place and get some good participation and get some good partnerships statewide, people will feel like they've got an investment and they're not just, throwing money at an insurance policy.
What would the timeline for something like that be?
It's going to take a legislative lift
Yeah.
To put something like that in place. And I think as a state, we're in a position where there's some great people in the legislature that I think will be behind ideas like this. There's some true professionals in our state government that I think we'll see the merit of this, and it's going to be my job as insurance commissioner to have that collaboration between our legislature, with the insurance industry, with the consumers, to make this plan work. I think it's just vital that we have everybody at the table.
Yeah.
I think the roofing industry needs to be involved in this. The construction industry for the other parts of the house. The auto repair industry needs to have a seat at this table, because you're taking tremendous risk with your auto deductibles these days for physical damage. And if we keep having these siloed conversations where it's just Bob the insurance commissioner talking with the legislature, or Bob the insurance commissioner talking with the insurance industry, and then Bob the insurance commissioner with the roofing industry, we're going to miss things. And if we have everybody at a table and can come to an agreement where chances are everybody's going to walk away a little mad because they didn't get everything they want, well, that's probably the kind of compromise we need.
Right.
So I think that spirit of collaboration has to exist, and that has to be part of the DNA of the insurance department.
Absolutely. Well, I know that this is a state that requires a lot of thought into insurance, of course. I know you know that, so I appreciate those helpful insights, especially for somebody like me, just to understand what's going on. Because when it comes to insurance, like I said, I'm clueless. So I'm sitting here talking to insurance agents with the claims I've got going on now, and it's like, well, this is what your policy states, and this is how you read it, and it's like, I had no idea, So to have somebody to help guide you through it, it wonders,
Absolutely. They're complex legal documents.
Yeah.
And to just throw any lay person into a room with that big stack of paper and say, all right, read this thing, that's not going to go so well.
Yeah.
You've got to have a guide, and and again, I'm a big believer in having a good professional agent, regardless of which agent you choose. Pick somebody who you have some trust and some faith in, who's willing to sit down with you at a table like this and discuss what it is you're trying to accomplish, and how best to structure the coverage to do that, and help you understand where the coverage begins and ends. I think a lot of people miss that ending part, and they think they're just covered for everything. And, maybe you're covered for more than you think, but you're probably not everything.
Insurance commissioner, what are some other things you want to tackle as far as things that you're seeing?
Sure. I'm going to suck up a little bit. I think we need to partner better with the fire protection and first responder community.
Love to hear it.
A big component of your insurance rates is based upon what kind of fire protection exists near your house or near your building. And so we're blessed to be in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where you all have an ISO Verisk rating of 1, protection class 1. And, that classification means that the citizens of Tulsa in your protection area have a lower insurance rate than people in protection class 2, 3, 4, all the way down to 10. So I think partnering with rural fire and volunteer fire departments to enable them and give them the tools they need to get an upgrade to their ISO rating is going to be key for statewide. I really think the western side of the state needs this the most with their wildfire risk. And in some cases, that's a difficult problem to solve because it's a headcount problem. And recruiting people to do dangerous jobs is not the easiest task. I imagine you two felt a calling on your life to join the fire department and get into fire protection. Whatever we can do as an insurance department to help recruit and retain great people like yourselves to take that calling and accept it and serve their communities in that capacity, I'm all for it. there's also, a ton of just paperwork, I'm sure, that is probably the biggest hurdle in terms of getting that getting that upgraded ISO protection class rating. So whatever we can do as an insurance department to facilitate that, I'm all for it. Ultimately, the better quality of your first responders, the safer your communities, and in my mind, the less you should have to pay for insurance. There's things we can't control like the weather, but we can control the quality of buildings that we build, and we can control the quality of roofing materials that we use on our properties. The Oklahoma Insurance Department already started that process with something called the Fortified Building Program, OK Ready, and that provides some grant assistance from the insurance department to help curb some of the cost and extra expense of putting those fortified roofing materials onto a house or onto a building. I want to see that program expand. It's currently capped quarter by quarter at a certain number of applicants. I believe it's 300 per quarter. I'd love to see that number double. Furthermore, there's a cost upfront associated with that, and I'd like to see us partner with hopefully some of our tribal friends in the state of Oklahoma to help incentivize and enable tribal citizens in rural parts of our state to participate in that program. $750 to pay a contractor to start this process for you doesn't seem like a lot to some people in our state, but for people living paycheck to paycheck or on a fixed income, that's an insurmountable number. It might as well be $1 million. So if we can have partnerships to take those barriers away and help people access programs like this that are meaningful and positive, I think we need to be doing that. We need to be making those investments and cultivating those partnerships.
Would that be something you'd be working on day one as commissioner?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we're already having conversations about stuff like that.
Okay.
Learn very early on that, act like you already got the job. Start making moves like you already have the job. And that's what we're doing. Having conversations with the legislators that are in positions to help influence things like that savings program I talked about. We've already had conversations with some tribal leaders about ways that we can partner to help some of their citizens access programs like this. And we're going to have solutions for non-tribal citizens in rural America, rural Oklahoma. And so,
is the feedback usually really positive? Or is
absolutely. Absolutely. Ultimately, the great thing about Oklahoma, one of our biggest strengths is that we care about each other. And we're neighborly, and we have that belief that, a rising tide lifts all boats. So if my neighbor can avoid a claim, honestly, that helps me because, we're not going to have to go respond to an emergency at our neighbor's house. And I think there's just a great sentiment of wanting to help one another in the state.
Yeah. With the ISO ratings across Oklahoma, is there do you know what the average ISO rating is?
Ooh, no, I don't. I used to keep track of how many PC1, Protection Class 1 fire departments there were in the state, and I think we're up to like four PC1 departments in the state of Oklahoma. I think Tulsa was the first.
Yeah.
So bravo. And you kept it, which sometimes getting it is one thing, keeping it's another.
Oh, yeah.
Those things are difficult accreditations to hold on to. I don't know what the average is right now, but I think if we could set a meaningful goal of making 75% of the fire departments in the state increase by 1 point.
Yeah.
Just move up one ranking.
Yeah. Your administration, just bring the collective, down one at least.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think, that's something that we can focus on a lot. I really have, rural volunteer fire departments are near and dear to my heart. I grew up, like I said, in Little Cleora, Oklahoma. We have a volunteer fire department. And I always knew where I could find those guys. They were always at the country C-store every morning having coffee with their hats on. You knew where they were. And I don't think they ever took days off from the coffee part.
Well, they probably love being there too.
Of course. Well, but to be a volunteer fire department means you really truly care about your community. You got the bug. It's in you. You may be a rancher, the rest of the time, but when it hits the fan, you're going to be the person there responding to help your neighbor out. And that's, that means a lot. And so I really want to support groups like that as well. So Yeah, I think if in the first term we could have every fire department in the state of Oklahoma move up one. Obviously, you all can't go up anymore, so that's why I said 75, not 100%. Manage expectations here, but I think that would be meaningful in terms of helping our property insurance, our fire insurance rates in the state. But things like the OK Ready program are fantastic. They focus on the wind and hail exposure. I think there's a lot more we could do with programs like that to expand to include electrical monitoring devices, the Ting devices that a lot of insurance companies rolled out. That shouldn't be specific or proprietary to one insurance company. I think that could be something widespread that just monitors the electrical flow throughout your house, and if there's a problem or if there's surges occurring that are going to potentially cause an electrical fire, that's low hanging fruit. That's easy. That's a device that plugs into one outlet, and can be tremendously valuable. Water flow monitoring devices, automatic shutoffs for water, because let's face it, the best claim you have is the one you don't. Yeah. So if you have devices like those that can shut off the water supply if a leak is detected, keep you from having to refloor the entire house, or major damage to flooring or things like that. Why aren't we doing that?
Right. Well, that would be my question. Why aren't we doing that?
Well, everything that the OID does is at the permission of the legislature. So that there is part of that, and the insurance department has a budget that is set at the legislative level annually. And I think that's just something that we need to be more mindful of, how we can take those premium tax dollars, which is the source of that revenue, and put it back in the hands of the people, while also still continuing to support, police and fire pensions, which is another use that money goes to every year, which doesn't need to change.
I appreciate that.
I imagine get positive feedback on that. But ultimately, I'm a conservative Republican, small government guy.
Yeah.
If a government agency is holding on to any kind of revenue or money that has the word tax associated with it, I think the best place for it is to go back to the people who paid it. Which premium tax dollars are sent in by the insurance companies, but they come from the premiums that you pay. So you've paid them. It's just another one of those hidden taxes that we all face as people in Oklahoma and in America. Absolutely. So let's put that back to work for the people, and let people make decisions with their money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Sullivan, thank you so much for doing this. I've really appreciated having you here. Is there anything else you'd like to close
Sure.
this episode with?
By all means, vote on June 16th. That is the Republican primary date, and I would very much appreciate if you'd fill in the box for Bob Sullivan for insurance commissioner. You can find out more about my campaign at votebobsullivan.com. You can find me on Facebook as well. But ultimately, I would encourage everyone listening to this to think about how important down ballot races like insurance commissioner, labor commissioner, corporation commissioner are. Because those are roles that really have major impact on your day-to-day lives, and I think those people in those roles that are trying to seek those roles really care about the state of Oklahoma and care about the people of Oklahoma. And I would encourage you to consider me as the person who cares the most about the people of Oklahoma in the race for insurance commissioner. But I really appreciate it. I guess I'll close by saying, vote Bob Sullivan on June 16th.